gym working out, you would not have to wear a mask.
Well, I guess I'm hearing it wrong. I was told that there was going to be a vote on whether you could go into the wellness center without a mask.
Not,
And
not,
I
not
don't
by
want
this
to. I
body.
don't want to have to stop my membership, but I do know if you do have to wear a mask, a lot of people will stop their membership over and above. Where is all the people that are not coming right now?
Yeah, and that would be a call by the hospital, not
Okay.
not us, not here, not tonight.
Okay. Well, I thought that the city owned the hospital, or blah blah blah.
We do,
You
but they
know.
have their own board of directors.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so, yeah. Okay.
Karen Kennedy, 1402 East Osage. I go by Katie. The reason why I changed my mind to come up here is because some say 17 in our county, and our county is important. All cities in our county are important. But the reason why we don't have over 50 or 100 or 200 or 300 is because the citizens of this city care. They stay home, they wash their hands. Before Walmart implemented the mask thing, if people were in the aisle, people would go to a different aisle. They would come back for their stuff. Everyone was being cordial and doing their best to keep the virus away. You know, your citizens here care, or we would have a whole lot more numbers, don't you think? I don't see a lot of people out there being reckless. I went and bought a mask because Walmart requires it. Stores I went to this weekend require it. They require it. I'm going to do what they say because as a Christian, we're to obey our authorities. All I'm asking is don't make it mandatory. The businesses are doing it. Those of us who don't want to wear masks, or those of the people out there who don't, I guess their dollars will go to another city. But if you notice, almost every business is requiring it now. So why mandate it? I don't understand. I just don't understand why you need to do that when the businesses are doing it themselves. Are you wanting to make every business do it? Is that what it is?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I am.
My position on it is, I think we have a moral obligation that if we can save someone's life by wearing something as simple as this, we should do that.
And you think that that mask right there keeps the virus away from you?
I think that if I sneeze wearing this mask and I'm infected, the virus is not gonna travel as far as if I sneeze without this
That's
mask.
true. That's true. Okay,
Yes.
that I can buy.
Yeah.
But I just wondered if you really thought that that mask is going to protect you.
Yes,
Okay.
in that manner. It's actually gonna protect you from me.
Right, right. And if you had a sign posted, I would have my mask on right now, but you didn't, so I was happy I get to
Yeah.
breathe. They make me very anxious and I don't like it, but if it's going to help somebody, then yeah, I'll wear it. But the thing is most of us care about other people. We don't like it. We were made for relationship, and this whole stupid pandemic has made it to where we're afraid to touch each other. We're afraid to talk to each other. We're afraid to even be this close to somebody. I'm really not 6 feet away from you. I'm sorry, but the microphone's here. But the thing is I just want us in our city to not follow suit from all the other cities. I understand if we need it, then yeah, go for it. But if we don't, then don't make us, because most of us are doing it anyhow. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hold on, because I got one on the phone. I still have some people on the phone. Just want to get everybody here that wants to speak. Anybody?
Mayor, I would recommend a roll call. I think we've had some changes on the call-in.
Okay, hold on just a second. Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Stevens,
Here.
Cox,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Boatright,
Yes.
Pritchard, Councilman Pritchard,
All right, let's go ahead and just take like about a 5-minute recess while we're trying to get Councilman Pritchard back on the phone, because we can't go forward until he gets back on here anyway. If you guys want to move, so I want to get up.
Mayor, if you're waiting on me, I'm back on.
Okay, thanks, forget it. Everybody sit back down. All right, yeah. So that's everybody
Councilman Smith
I'm here.
and Mayor.
here. Okay, so, Mr. Smith, do you want to speak? Pastor Smith.
I just want to begin by saying thank you to each one of you guys who take the time and serve our city, and appreciate the sacrifices that you make. And I believe I've already contacted 3 of the 5.
Stop you real quick. You got to tell Corey your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Brian Smith, 2001 North 4th in 5th Ward. Okay. I believe I've contacted 3 of the 5 of you and shared my concerns with you. And I agree. And Mr. Williams talking about his father. I've known his father for 25 years, and I'm saddened to hear that he's sick. I have an uncle in the hospital right now. I have a niece who just got her 2nd negative reading so she can go back to work as a nurse. So I do understand the reality of what we're dealing with. But at the same time, I have to agree with the majority of those that have spoken today. And I feel like McAllister, they're very reasonable people. We at church have made adjustments. We've moved our seating around. We have gone to 2 morning services on Sunday, trying to help accommodate where people aren't crowded, where they're not forced. I also understand we are outside the city limits, so some of it wouldn't affect us as much, but our people live here, and we live here, and this is where this is our home. And, I just, again, I appreciate all that's been said, appreciate you guys serving. I'm just asking that you consider the feelings of the people. I have no problem recommending, I have no problem encouraging, but when we begin to mandate, I feel that we cross a line that actually does not need to be crossed. And again, I so much appreciate, we placed you guys in office. You trusted our vote when we voted for you and placed you in the position that you're in. I ask now that you respect our feelings and our convictions and respect the wishes of the people of McAllister. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Once again, calling out anybody else. I got the people on the phone, then we'll get back.
I thought that's what
Yes.
you said. They're all out here going, go, go, go.
Who do we have on the phone? I know we've got Pittsburgh County Emergency Management and Pittsburgh County Health Department.
We do.
Is it Julie Montgomery?
Julie's on, Kevin Enlow, and also Fire Chief Brett Brewer is on.
Okay, well, let's start with the Health Department. Julie?
Thank you, Mayor. I was just coming around. I just want to thank everyone for their comments tonight, and we want to, from the standpoint of the public health, the mask is going to be very important in the coming days and months and weeks as we try to mitigate the illness in our community. We've done over 7,100 tests in District 9, 1,300 in Pittsburgh County alone. And truly what we're touching on is just the tip of an iceberg. With 1,300 tests, we're not sure of the prevalence of the illness in the city. And so a mask is going to help us not only with those who are symptomatic and who may be sick, but those who we don't know that are ill. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. We are moving forward with flu season and schools reopening, and are just anticipating an increase in the number of cases. And I will say that our staff are reaching a kind of a critical point in their capacity to continue at this kind of marathon pace that we're currently finding ourselves. And anything that we can do to mitigate the illness in the community and slow the spread is going to make it where we can manage the illness in our community.
Well, thank you. Does, any of the council have any, or any of the council have any questions for Ms. Montgomery?
Mayor, this is Councilman Stevens. I just wanted some clarity on something she said.
Okay.
How many tests are you guys currently performing a day, Mrs. Montgomery?
Upwards of 76 as our testing can expand depending upon the demand. As the cases increase, there is a greater demand for testing at the health department. And as we kind of went into a period in June where we didn't have cases, and so the number of test requests was down. So we really do have the capacity to run tests. It's just a matter of making sure that I continue to have staff who are healthy and able to continue to do that.
How many cases how many tests do you believe that you could be able to give with the staff that you have right now at a max level?
If I was running 3 nurses and doing just back-to-back appointments, I can do about 130 in 3 hours.
Okay. How long is it taking for you all to get test results?
For Pittsburgh County, we send our tests to the public health lab. Test results at the public health lab are now about 3 to 4 days in turnaround for results. And a quick result such as that is really important in being able to mitigate spread and communicate with individuals who have confirmed cases, as well as finding their contacts to do contact tracing with them.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Montgomery, as a healthcare professional for Pittsburgh County, do you see the cases trending upward, downward, or staying relatively flat?
We have seen an uptick in the number of cases that we are investigating. We have doubled since, we had a June 14th, we were in the lower 40s, I believe. By July 14th, we had doubled that number, and of course, we said it 20 more since last week. So we are seeing an uptick in our cases.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the council for Ms. Montgomery? Go ahead. Go ahead. Wait. No. Go ahead, Mr. Boatright. I got Councilman Boatright
I just want to
first.
know how many of the people have recovered. Of that 90 that you're telling us, how many have recovered? Or how many active cases do we have?
I believe, and I don't have my numbers right in front of me, I believe that we have 80 people who have recovered.
Thank you.
Was Councilman Pritchard? Come on, guys. Councilman Pritchard, were you asking a question? Okay, I wasn't sure if that was you.
Mayor, are you talking to me? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Were you wanting to be recognized?
Yeah, I had a question. I had a question for Ms. Montgomery. She was saying something about how the quick results is important, so you can start doing the contact tracing. Can you tell me more about how that works? I mean, is that something you all are doing here? Is that something that happens outside of your department? How does that process work?
It's a great question. What we have done prior to about 2 weeks ago, if we were notified, so first of all, let me say that COVID is a mandatory reported disease, so any lab that runs this, they are mandated by the federal government to report those to the State Department of Health. And those confirmed tests come to the county health department, to the local here, and we call those individuals to notify them not only of their positive case, but also to talk to them about risk factors, protective factors, and the individuals in which they have been in immediate contact with. So we are wanting to speak with them about close household contacts. We consider an exposure having been within 6 feet of someone for 15 minutes or more. and we may have to make some decisions and discussions with them about quarantine and isolation. An individual single case, you know, if you're a pretty seasoned nurse, it can take about an hour to an hour and a half to work each case. Once we have identified those contacts with that case, we'll also contact the individuals to inform them that they had been exposed to a confirmed case of COVID, and that here are the public health recommendations for their safety as well as the community.
So what is your capacity to do those? I mean, how many cases, you were talking about how many tests you can administer, but how many cases can you know, do contact tracing for?
And as I said, I got off track there. I apologize. We have expanded the capacity to do investigations at the state office. They've hired over 300 people to do case investigations. These are paraprofessionals who are learning about case investigation. It takes them a little bit longer, so it's expanded our capacity. But I also like to have nurses available to the community. We've provided significant consultation to our schools as they look to reopen. And as our cases increase, we really will struggle to continue to do case investigations at the level in which we are currently doing them. And what it would mean is if we have reached that capacity, we may only be able to do confirmation tests, but would not be able to do contact tracing. And that's just part of contact tracing is critical to the mitigation of illness.
I have one more question, if I can. How does, you know, the experience you're having in your district, how does that compare to other parts of the state? I mean, are other parts of the state able to do the same level of tracing that you are? Do you know that information?
I would say that we are on point in terms of our staffing patterns. We've added significant numbers of nurses as well as LPNs, registered nurses, LPNs, and patient care assistants to be able to handle the workload. We have also had assistance from the Oklahoma National Guard in the delivery of PPE and supplies to county health departments, and also currying those tests back and forth. Our tests have to be picked up daily, sent to the public health lab in Oklahoma City. And they've also helped us with our contact tracing. The governor has extended, once again, our Oklahoma National Guard to continue to assist us. But we will be at a point when National Guard will no longer be a resource for us, and we will have to be able to have the workforce on our feet to meet the demand of the continuing cases throughout the district.
Thank you.
And anyone else on the council have any questions?
This is Councilman Cox. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, when a person is tested and then they go back for additional tests, and let's say that patient has 3 positives before they get their negative, are the results that are posted on the Oklahoma website, is that based on a patient, or is that based on the 3 positive tests that patient took?
That's a great question. A question that people have had on what our numbers actually reflect. And if you kind of follow our website, you'll see a daily number, and sometimes we'll remove a number. And what we're doing is removing any duplicates. So we don't count multiple tests. We only count individuals. And so, you may have 3 positives, and that's just because sometimes your body can carry a viral load that's still detectable by the test. It doesn't necessarily mean you're infectious. But we're only going to count you once in our case report.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions from the council? We We've got Pittsburgh County Emergency Management and Fire Chief Brett Brewer. Are you guys on the line?
Council, this is Director Enlow, Emergency Management. So we're here for any questions that the council may have of myself. We have worked hand in hand through this from the very beginning, around the clock, with the public health officials and a unified command setting, and also working with the hospital staff and addressing the needs that we have in our county to ensure the public safety is the ultimate goal. We are in support of wearing masks. It is everybody's right. Nobody here is arguing the fact of personal rights or anybody's personal opinion. It's not a political thing. It is truly a public health issue. So the public health issue that we're dealing with, and everything that we see from the federal side of the house and also the state side of the house on slowing the curve or lowering, flattening the curve, as everybody likes to say, is in order to do that, it's social distancing and the wearing of face coverings. So in light of the public health issue that we're facing, we're in support of the wearing of face coverings.
You talked about the curve. Can you do you have the ability to discuss a little bit of how the curve has been going in the last, say, month?
I'm sorry, again. Ask that again.
I said, can you? You may not have the data, but if you do have the data, can you talk a little bit about the curve of the disease in the last month or so?
So we came out the gate early on in the game, and I will commend the leadership of the city and the state and the county officials as far as getting out ahead of trying to be proactive. Instead of being reactive, we were proactive, and we tried to get out ahead of it and flatten the curve. And I think that our county done a fantastic job of doing that. Our citizens done a great job. Elected officials and everything, we can say that we done it, but it was truly the citizens of our county that stepped up and made a difference, and they adhered to the guidance that was being put out. And in doing so, we kept our numbers extremely low through the first few phases, of phase one, phase two, reopening of getting our economy back flowing. The number one thing that we are taught in times of disaster and public health issues and such as this is the number one thing that we want to get moving again is the economy. So we 100% wanted to have that economy flowing. We wanted our businesses open, and the 918 pledge that was put out by the Unified Command staff in Pittsburgh County and sponsored with the City of McAllister to promote with our businesses and our restaurants to the social distancing and wearing of masks, done a fantastic job. Our citizens done a fantastic job. Our businesses done a great job of keeping our numbers down. So what we're seeing now on the back end of it, with everything reopening and phase three and everything's back in full swing, is everybody has kind of like gotten laxed and said, okay, everything's over now. We don't have to worry about it. So now what we're seeing is our numbers starting to climb. And that is our fear, is our numbers are starting to climb, and us now going to have to be reactive to trying to catch the spread and to try to slow that spread down again. So that's where we're at today.
Any council members have any questions for the emergency management? Mr. Enlow? All right, thank you. Okay, one last time. Anybody else got anything to say? Ms. Benton.
Hello, council. Can y'all hear me with this mask on?
Yeah.
One of the things that we've seen throughout.
You have to
sorry.
identify yourself and your address.
Alyssa Laddie. I'm with McAllister Main Street. I don't know if I need to claim my address for that, but
119.
yeah,
East
119 East Choctaw. You know, from running the mail, yes. One of the things that we've seen in this discussion tonight is a lot of comparisons between health statistics and things like that. But one of the things that I really want to make sure that you guys don't take lightly, and I don't think you're taking any of this lightly, but we're looking at a matter of lives versus livelihood with our businesses. We've been up here multiple times talking about federal assistance for our businesses and things like that. So whenever you take into account the health numbers, take into account the other numbers of businesses who have loans taken out, they have to maintain a certain amount of employment statuses to have those loans forgivable. And that's one of the things that I don't think anybody's made a point on tonight, but I think it's really important to keep into consideration as we move forward with this. So thank you.
Thank you. John, Mr. Titsworth, I've got somebody in front of you first. I'm going to let everybody go first, and then.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Tina Cathy. I live in Savannah, Oklahoma. I'm an essential worker. I have worked in this every single day. I am not sick. My question to you is the council members, what is the OSHA laws on your mask?
I got an OSHA quote if you'd like to hear it.
I would.
Find out which stack I got it in. This is from a Q&A, frequently asked questions with OSHA. Should workers wear a cloth face while at work in accordance with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommendations for all people to do so when in public? OSHA generally recommends that employers encourage workers to wear face coverings at work. Face coverings are intended to prevent wearers who have coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19 without knowing, i.e. those who are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, from spreading potentially infectious respiratory droplets to others. This is known as source control. So, yes,
Okay.
they do recommend wearing them at work. That's, of course, where their business is.
All of this comes down to if we allow you as council members to make city laws that would cause us to get fines for not wearing them, when does it stop? When does our constitutional rights get taken away from us? My grandparents, they bled and died and was on a battlefield for my rights, my liberties, and I feel like they're being taken away. My grandfather used to tell me, united we stand, but divided we fall. Are you trying to divide our county? Are you trying to divide our city? Let's find something that we can all work with and agree with.
Right.
You know, I just read a verse yesterday in the Bible, and it's in Proverbs. And it said that when the righteous is in power, the people rejoice. When evil is in power, people mourn. People are losing their businesses. People are losing their jobs. People are sick. I agree with that. I'm not saying they're not. But we have to stand up for something. We didn't put masks on for the flu. We didn't put it on for TB, tuberculosis. We don't put it on for AIDS. We don't put it on for sexually transmitted diseases. We don't put it on for a lot of stuff. I worked with children for 25 years in a daycare before I went to work at a bank. Yeah, you take the risk of getting sick. But honestly, there's 4 million people in Oklahoma, and less than 1% have it. And and 17,000 out of 22,000 have recovered from it. So I'm sorry. It makes me a little aggravated that you think you can take my constitutional rights away from me and my liberties away from me. That's all.
Yeah, thank you.
John Titsworth, 1010 Douglas. You know, it seems to me that all of our government entities, the only number they want to look at is the gross number, the total from the beginning. Just like emergency management, what are they talking about? The gross number. City of Broken Arrow, their council voted it down. Claremore, Monday, voted it down. Jinx voted it down. The other cities around Tulsa, they've all voted it down. The only one that voted for it was Tulsa. Everybody else up there has voted down. The numbers speak for themselves. The active numbers, look at the active numbers, not the gross, not what we started out at 5-6 months ago. The active numbers in the last 5 days have gone from 5,350, 5,350 to 5,050. They've gone down 300 active cases in the state of Oklahoma. And y'all want to make everybody wear a mask because 11 people in the city of McAlester that are active. I don't care. You talk about the population of the Pittsburgh County. As of yesterday, there have been a total of 103 cases in the Pittsburgh County, 43,000 people, and there's only 17 active in the county. And you want to make everybody wear a mask because the 17 people are going to dictate what we have to do because you're listening to them, not these people here. Thank you.
Kathy Sly, 216 East Electric here in town. So I want to say something because Ms. Montgomery quoted that they had put on 300 extra workers and there's 107 cases, so about 3 nurses apiece could go out there and see each person. They should get well quickly like that. I just want to give a couple more things. You know, the influenza number was far higher. I really don't understand. I just really don't understand. I think that we need to go look at our facts, and I think that's what most of us are asking y'all to do, is go look at things. Get off of mainstream media. Go find out. On June 16th on the Laura Ingraham Angle, there's an 8-minute and 43-second tape. I highly encourage you, sir, to watch it because it talks about a whole study of a group full of asymptomatic people, and they were even having them fake cough on each other to try to cough up a germ. It wasn't happening. It's not true. For whatever reason, we're being fed false facts. I don't know who it was that talked about that you're not violating any of our constitutional rights, but the Attorney General, William Barr, disagrees with you because he started a hotline. Get your pencils ready. 866-720-5721. Press 1. The number for the attorney that offers to represent us for free, 352-989-9100. And you can guarantee that if you pursue this, there are many of us that we care about you. We're not trying to threaten you. We're just trying to get you, as he said, to do your job. You're a public servant. There's too many of us here, too much misinformation. Relook, please. And I thank you for your time.
One last call for anybody who wants to speak. I think I've said one last call about 10 times now, though.
Mike Nolan, 10 Thane Road, McAlester, Oklahoma. I'm the owner of Anchor Auto and Welding over on 8 West Tyler. The mask, how long does it take you to get the coronavirus if you move the mask to take a drink of water, Mayor? If the mask is protecting you, how long does it take the coronavirus to get to you in the air if you take a drink of water? Billy Jack Boatwright takes his mask down to breathe a little bit or whatever to get second breath. How long does it take him to get the corona with the mask off? If the mask works, it works. But mandate is saying that, hey, you're greater than what everybody else is, or saying that we're under a thumb or under a rule. I'm for the city of McAllister. I do business in the city of McAllister. I do a business for Oklahoma Healthcare, for the hospital, for Tanny Hill School, for Savannah School, for McAllister High School, for Chris Moore's deputies. I do a lot of business with them. But for them to come in, or people to come in and tell me at my business or at my home, or anybody else to say, hey, you want to wear a mask, mandatory, tell your help to wear a mask. When has McAllister ever been concerned, or when has America ever been concerned about somebody's health? There's a lot of other things going on in this world besides somebody saying wear a mask. How come we're not worried about with the people living in poverty, or the people that's losing their jobs, or the people's health has been failing a long time? The other lady said about the flu. The flu has taken out a lot more than this coronavirus has over a history of a lifetime. When does the mask end? Did we say we wear a mask till we die? When does the mask end? Nobody wants to wear a mask. If you like wearing a mask, wear one. If it helps you, wear one. I'm not going to rip nobody's mask off. If they want to wear one, I got nothing against them. But don't come put one on me. I don't want one on. I ain't going to buy one. And I refuse to shop at a store that makes me wear them. I take my business out of this county. I know that ain't nothing, but I'm going to let y'all know something. Last year, I spent $400,000 in this county through my business. I don't do business in a county that makes me do bad, to wear a mask. I'll buy from Oklahoma City that won't make me. I'll buy from somewhere else. I don't have to do business at these stores local in town. My shop can do business somewhere else. I can sell cars somewhere else, and I go by the city ordinance, and I back the city. I'm for my city. I'm for my county. But for city officials elected in by the people to tell the people, now you ain't got no rights no more. You're below the rights of American anymore. To take away our rights and say you're going to wear a mask, like it or not, bar none. Hey, if the restaurant poses a mask law, let the restaurant owner do it. If we want to eat the restaurant, we'll go eat there. If he files bankrupt, he'll know to take the mask law off. If Walmart does it, maybe people have enough backbone to shop somewhere else besides Walmart. If Pruitt does it, maybe we'll go somewhere else. If Walgreens does it, let's go to CVS. If CVS does it, let's go to Walgreens. If AutoZone wants to have a mask law, I go to O'Reilly's. Somebody will not have a mask law for me to go shop at. If the world says let's have a mask law, it's worldwide mask law, then it's mask law. It's worldwide. Then we need to look at that thing. But how long, answer this question for me, how long does it take the coronavirus to get into your lungs when you take the mask off to take a drink, to cough, or take the mask off to breathe or whatever? And when does the mask date run out? Can anybody answer that question, please? When does the mask, get a professional on the phone or anybody, when does the mask date run out?
November 5th, 2020.
If that is the case, do y'all know how many lawsuits will be on America? If that is the case?
It's not the case.
I don't think it is either. I hear everybody talking, but if that is the case, I think it'd be more like November 30th to push it to 15 days. But I hope it ain't for politics. I hope it ain't for that reason. I hope I've been lied to.
The president's coronavirus task force endorses everyone wearing a mask, so I mean, it's not political.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is we're living in McAllister. I've heard McAllister referred to as Springfield. Springfield is a tourist town that millions of people go to. I've heard McAllister referred to as Tulsa or Oklahoma City. This is McAllister. Like y'all said, 40-something thousand people in the county. I bet if we do our homework right now in a matter of a couple of minutes on Google, more people died of the flu this year in this county than what of the coronavirus. And they never told me to wear a mask. I got 6 kids, and I got kids that had asthma and everything else. One of them spent 4 months in ICU. He has never been sick. I'm around all kind of people. He hasn't been sick from corona. And if you're going to get corona, I'm here to tell somebody something right now. If you're going to get corona, whether we believe or don't believe in God's word, that's beside the point here. There's a fact that God did not give a man a spirit of fear, but the power of a sound mind and of love. So what I'm saying is, if you're terrified of dying over a corona mask, or you're terrified for a mask, and you're going to wear a mask because you're feared of politics or government or whatever, or a fine. If it's a fine, fine is what it is. I got rights. I'm an American citizen. And besides that, besides being an American citizen, I'm a child of God, and I'm proud of that. And God's word says that you don't have to live in fear. If corona's going to take me out, it's going to take me out. If flu's going to take me out, it's going to take me out. If filing bankrupt's going to take me out, it's going to take me out. Like I said, I'm for the city. I back the city. I support the city. I believe in the city of McAllister. I live here. I've been here most of my life. I live here. This is my life right here in McAllister. So I do support McAllister, but for a half a dozen city officials to say that the rest of McAllister is going to wear a mask, like it or not, because somebody else said that the mask benefit us. Would somebody answer the question, when does the mask run out? And if I wear it just on my chin, does it protect the rest of my body? Does it cover my beard up and I don't get corona of the beard? Or does it protect, or when I take the mask down, can I have it off? Because I need to know a time frame. Because it's about my health. Can I have it off 5 seconds to take a drink, or 10 seconds to take a hit from my vape cigarette, or 10 seconds to take a smoke, or whatever? Is there a time frame I can have it off legitimately that keeps me safe, if it's about safety? If not, do I just wear it till I go to bed?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking anybody that wants to answer that question.
If you read the ordinance, the only time a mask is required is when you're unable to socially distance.
I understand that, but
Okay, so that's not at your house. That's not at your work. Depending on what you're doing, you know, it's.
If the
you-
mask
there would
law-
be, you gotta let me finish. I'll let you finish.
Okay.
Okay. The whole idea behind the mask is not to keep you from getting sick. It's to keep you from getting other people sick. So yes, taking a drink of water with the mask down, there is a very slight risk I'm going to get something on him or him, but very slight there.
I'm gonna leave it this, but how many times can you put the mask on before it's contaminated? You should wash it. There's people living in Pittsburgh County that cannot afford disposable masks, and there's people in Pittsburgh County that cannot afford to buy 10 masks a day. I work in the heat.
Yeah, and the ordinance isn't a mask, it's a face covering. It can be a bandana.
Okay. I was going to bring a full-face respirator tonight, but I forgot it. Because a full-face respirator would keep you from particles. I believe if the corona's in the air and particles go through these masks. I've worked around chemicals all my life. I can spray chemicals in this air, pepper spray or whatever, and it will gag all of y'all down with these masks on. There's not a mask in this building doing anything but looking on your face. A mask is a full-face respirator.
One
That's all I
question,
gotta say.
one quick question on
Yes, sir.
on the pepper spray. If you spray the pepper spray with nothing in front of it, it's going to dissipate more than if you put something in front of it and spray it, correct?
Not really. I've experimented with pepper spray before. Everybody in this room would choke down with 2 or 3, and the police officers can vouch for this. Everybody in this room would choke plumb down with 2 or 3 sprays of pepper spray, because it would go in. A mask don't even protect, respirator don't with a beard. I've been on oil field job sites where NO2 gas has been out there, and safety officials have been out there and shut the job site down because the particles are 0.3 million out there. No human can smell that, but this machine can. And they come out there and they tell everybody on the job site immediately start shaving on the job site. Shave or fired. Yeah. So everybody on the job site shaves their beard off, puts the respirator on, and now we're good to go. Respirators don't even seal with facial hair. So we should say not mask law, everybody should shave too. Go have a good day.
I would like to correct you, there is a statute that ends on November 5th. I quote from Olivia Washington.
This ordinance doesn't.
I understand, but you said that it's not political, and actually there is proof and statutes and emergency laws being made that end on November 5th. So this law may not, but our concern is for the general going down.
Yeah.
It can happen.
Well,
I have a statute.
Basically anything can happen anywhere. I mean, I can't argue politics in Washington.
That's right.
So, anyone else?
I have one more thing.
Okay.
I have a boy.
You gotta get the mic, because we got people on the phone. They can't hear you otherwise.
I have a friend of mine. Actually, he was the boy that I taught in Sunday school. He's about 22 years old. He works down there in Durant for the hotel casino for the Choctaws. He come in one day, he coughed twice, sneezed once. They said, "You're showing symptoms." The next day he come in, they wanted to check his temperature. Then they told him, they said, "Well, you're going to have to go get tested." So he said, "Okay." But they said, "Don't worry, you'll get your full pay for however long you're off. We're going to pay you." And by the way, we get 3 times the amount for you not being here. We get 3 times the money. So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it loud and proud. People are being paid to lie. And that's a fact. And the Choctaws told this boy, said, you can't go anywhere else and get tested. You go to our clinic. He said, okay. Of course, he tested positive. He had a friend that's been off 8 weeks before he got off. He said, there ain't nothing wrong with my friend. And they test him every week, and he tests positive. And they count that for 1 positive test every time he tests per week. So now count your numbers. Then he tells his dad what happened. His dad tells him, said, go get you a blood test from another place. He said, Dad, they won't pay for it. He said, don't worry, go get the test. He went and got the test. Guess what he tested? Negative. Now, he said, Dad, I'm not giving them the paperwork because they'll fire me. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Sure.
My name's Blake Jennings, 308 Bluebird Lane. I was just going to kind of read something that I had actually sent to the city council, but I want the citizens of McAlester to hear as well, and it's kind of a reiteration, some of this, and some of it's a little bit new. I want to voice my concern over the vote of this mask mandate. It becomes a very slippery slope when the government mandates anything, because what's next? Anything is possible. I highly encourage a no vote on this proposal. I am in full support of the local business creating their own policies. It's within their right to enforce that policy. We as consumers have the right to shop or not shop or eat there. This is a business policy, not a government mandate. What's happening across America in the liberal areas, including California, where the governor is banning Bible studies. We are living in turbulent times in our lives, and it's time that we as Americans, believers, whatever you are, stand up for what you believe. We want our voices heard, and when the majority speak, actions should be taken. Again, you're a representative of the citizens. We don't need masked police. We don't need fines. We don't need mandates. Our city is already taking care of itself with only 11 cases. If people want to wear a mask, let them. Mandating is completely wrong. The mayor and I had some back and forth text messages today, and he stated that it's a minor inconvenience, and I tend to agree a little bit. It is a minor convenience that businesses can place on their patrons, but pushing it as a minor convenience is not, from a government side, is not minor. That is a major push to allow government mandates moving forward. Again, I'm thoroughly against this, and I believe over 75%, I looked just a moment ago, right at 75%. It's not a scientific poll, but it's what the News Capital has done. 75% of McAlester do not want a mask mandate. I ask that you vote the way your constituents have asked you to do so. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, I think we're up to number 12. Anybody else?
That's good.
All right, and in that case, I'll do the auctioneer thing. Going once, going twice. In that case, I need a motion. Yes. Who was that?
Mayor's Chief Brewer here
Okay, go ahead.
at the LC. Hey, I just want to clarify a couple things that Director Enlow talked about a while ago. And from a public safety standpoint, we talked about the curve, flattening the curve. Just real quick, like how that curve and those numbers affect public safety or the healthcare system as a whole. As you look around the nation and stuff, as these numbers start to get out of control, it's very hard to get them back under control without more severe mandates and things like that. While the total number in the state of Oklahoma tends to be going down the last few days. Hospitalizations are on the rise, and the number in our region is on the rise. And what I mean by numbers in the region, that's the South. As you probably know, McAllister and Durant are the 2 level 3 hospitals. That's where all the patients are going to end up being pushed. If the counties around us are getting sick before us, they're probably going to have our hospital filled up before we get to use it, for one. Secondly, if we don't keep these numbers under control, talking about public safety response, our EMS, our firefighters, if this illness gets out of control and our firefighters are spending all their time dealing with this illness, it's probably going to create a slowdown in our response times. And what I mean by that is, if we're dealing with the illness as things like heart attacks, traumas, car wrecks, these type of things, if we're tied up with dealing with the illness, it's going to slow us down getting to those. And you also got to factor in our staffing. We have a limited number of staffing. Granted, we do everything in our power to keep our employees as safe as we can while they're doing their job, and they take it seriously. But reality is they have a life and a family away from work, and that family, it has their day-to-day things. They go to work, they go to school. We're going to have employees eventually that are going to get sick with this. Which is going to leave us with staffing shortages. Shortages, if they don't get sick, we're going to be running the other ones to death. They're going to suffer fatigue. They're going to burn out. These type of things. And right now, we can't just pick up the phone and call for more staffing. Everyone around us is running full bore, wide open. They're hollering for staffing as well. If you look at, I think it was Florida today on the news. They need 2,000 nurses. They can only find 1,000. So it's going to be very hard to find help. McCurtain County a few weeks ago, McCurtain County EMS, they got hit hard with employees being sick. They got short of staff. They ended up in a bad predicament. Luckily, this is when it first started, and there was people that we can move around the system to help get them out of a bind. Those people are not there now with everyone else dealing with this. And that's just the EMS personnel. As we start taking these patients to the emergency department or the local ER, we're going to start overloading that system. The one thing you always hear everybody gripe about when they talk about going to the ER is the wait time. Well, those wait times are going to get longer and longer. As we overrun the staffing there, they're going to start having staffing issues as well. The illness that goes up, their staffing levels are going to go down. They're going to suffer fatigue and burnout as well, or illness. And as we exceed their capacity, we've got to start moving those patients out. There again, that comes back to the EMS system to move those patients around. The same thing goes on, for the hospital and so on and so forth. So it's just, this thing can spiral out of control and leave us in a bad spot, public safety-wise, if we don't stay out in front of it. I understand everyone's concerns about their rights. I'm right there with you on that. But the big picture, it doesn't matter what's an inconvenience to me. It matters our citizens and our employees is what is the big picture and what matters to us. But I feel like I felt a responsibility to bring that to your attention. These numbers getting out of control can leave us in a bad spot, public safety-wise, if we're not careful.
Does anyone on the council have any questions for Chief Brewer?
Yes.
you'll be able to speak, but we're not going to have people debating. Yeah, let me make sure that I've got everybody here first, because with the phone it's difficult. Any comments or questions from anyone on the council? Okay, Mr. Stroh. If you would address the question, guys, and we
Okay, Shannon Rowell, I have the Gate prayer room right here right across the street, 18 East Carl Albert. I hear your I hear the concerns that were brought up about the staffing concerns, but my question, I guess, would be for the council is, what about the police? What about our law enforcement? It would seem to me that the same concerns that we have on the health side, we're going to have on the law enforcement side. And from my seat in the bleachers, they already appear to be very heavily taxed, and as far as resource goes. So I guess that's one concern or one thing that I just wanted to bring up. I don't know if you guys have any put on that. Yeah, do we feel like we're adequately staffed from an officer perspective to be able to?
We are currently understaffed, about 5 employees in our police department. They are doing an excellent job. I think my biggest concern that Chief Brewer just brought up is when I look at our staffing for fire and police, what happens if we have somebody that is infected and we have to quarantine an entire shift of police officers or an entire shift of firefighters? Our concern going forward is that contamination and our ability to respond to this community and be able to provide the police protection that is necessary, along with running our EMS system with our fire department, and also being able to respond to those fire needs. That is our major concern here. That's why we social distance. That's why you see our police officers with masks on. It's to keep their safety and the public safety so that we can make that call to you in 2 weeks or a month or 2 months from now. That's our biggest concern, is the safety of this community.
Okay, and then I would just say, wow, we have some smart people in this city. We did hear from a couple of business owners. I did hear at least one. I guess my concern is that, which I talked to several of you this week, my concern is that there will be litigation. I think that the intent is wonderful. I think the intent to say, hey, we're going to issue guidance on this. This is the information we have, and we're going to say, hey, these are the things that we think are the best way to move forward. I think where we really get in trouble, and I'm talking financially as a city, is my concern is that we're going to open ourselves up to tons of litigation, whether we agree with it or not agree with it. There are a lot of inflamed people over this situation. And we've already heard that one business owner is going to take $400,000 of business out of this county. And I don't believe he's being dramatic. I believe he's being sincere. And I do know that there are a lot of businesses, friends of mine, that have businesses in McAllister that are struggling. They're struggling. They're maybe 1 month away from closing their doors. Many of these are restaurants. And I don't want to see that. And I'm not saying what you guys are proposing is good or bad. I don't know. I'm not a healthcare professional. But I'm concerned about the business side of this. We know that if we allow, we know that there's a potential risk that, the infection could go further. But we know for certain that if we shut down our economy, that these businesses are probably going to close. They're not getting a bailout. They're going to get a loan. And from what I heard earlier, some of these loans, they have a certain staffing requirement to be able to continue to qualify, or they have to pay back in a certain time frame. So I don't know, but I think that all of those things need to be considered, because if these businesses go down, McAllister's in a lot of trouble. We're in a lot of trouble. So I'm not saying, I don't stand here and say what we're saying or proposing from you guys is wrong or right. I just say that I'm hearing concerns. I've had probably 100 phone calls myself in the last 48 hours on this topic. And I'm going to tell you, it probably lines up with you said 75%. It's probably more like 95% is the feedback that I'm getting. So I just want to be transparent and give you guys that information.
Thank you.
My name's Tammy Kuykendall, and I live. My name's Tammy Kuykendall, and live at 380 Southeast Buchanan in Krebs. And my question is, he's talking about staffing. How are you going to handle the issue of officers being called repeatedly for people not abiding by the law when they just say, I'm not going to wear it? And so you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of reports and people saying, overworking your officers, working the mask deal when they need to be able to do their job, because there's a lot of people that won't be abiding by it. And that's the other side. I'm not sure how your officers are going to handle the overwork from when people just refuse to wear them.
Blake Jennings, 308 Bluebird, just to piggyback off of what Tammy just said, was if the officers are wearing the mask, they should be protected. Right. Am I right?
The wearing the mask protects you from me.
But they too should be protected.
Yes, so I would assume that they are going to arrest somebody.
Where is the concern then, as far as how are they going to get sick if the mask is protecting them? And I have a question to, I believe it was Brett Brewer, Fire Chief.
You have to direct the questions to us. We can't have the speakers debating, but direct it to us.
Okay. So my question is maybe for the council. I don't know who all knows the answer to this, but we were talking about the EMS and being overwhelmed potentially with this. I'm curious how many calls have went out for COVID for an ambulance. But I mean, if there's 11 cases, but are those ambulance runs? I mean, they're probably driving themselves to the hospital because they're sick, not feeling well. So where is I guess I don't follow that train of thought.
I think what Chief Brewer was saying is the concern of the trend of the way the cases are going, that we're low now, but the way things are going, that we are getting higher, and we're going to continue to get higher until this is my understanding of what his concern is, that we're going to reach. Please, Mr. Titsworth, please let you speak. Let us speak too, please. Okay. My concern, and I think his concern, is that we're going to reach a point where we can no longer handle the load. That is why wearing the masks now and trying to minimize the amount of infection that occurs will help us in the long run. I believe that's my understanding of what he was saying.
Is there a way to get an answer on how many COVID calls we've had with an ambulance?
Mr. Stasiak, is that possible to get?
I don't have that data.
Can it be gotten at some? I mean, we can't get it tonight.
Sure.
If it can be released, then we'll release it, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Connie Day, 2205 Apple Blossom. My question is, we haven't been wearing masks. Just about everybody I know doesn't wear one, and we have 11 cases.
But
what is going to change?
Do you not think that somewhere else had 11 cases at one time and now they've got 150?
In the since March?
No, since July.
No.
Anyway, Councilman Smith made a quick exit, so we're going to take about a 5-minute recess to allow him to get back before we go any further. Everybody stand up and stretch.
I'm gonna go get my coat. I'm freezing.
Councilmen that are on the call, we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll be back at 7:29.
We're going to start again. Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Cox,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Boatright.
Yes.
Pritchard,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Stevens, Councilman Stevens,
And somebody.
Stephanie, can you tell if Councilman Stevens is on the line?
I actually have a new caller on the line. Can you state your name, please?
Cully Stevens. Sorry.
Thank you, Councilman.
And I'm here.
Mayor.
Okay. Okay. We've had a couple new faces show up in our recess, and I'll give them the opportunity to address us if they would like. Okay. Just when you get up, I just need you to say your name and address.
My name is Kalua Watts Stanfield. My address is 1403 East Wade Watts Avenue. And I just found out about this meeting. I just got back in town, so which is why, I feel it necessary to come and at least speak on behalf of those of us who feel like a mask is necessary. We're in a pandemic, and it knows no boundaries. And the one thing that I'm concerned about being a black female is that I'm 65 years old. I have diabetes. I have been cancer compromised, and I'm having a weakened immune system. And I don't want the germ floating all around me to be able to contract this disease that's going to be so hard to, live through. But like I said again, it knows no color boundaries. However, black people make up about 3% of the population, but we're dying at a rate of 40%. So I would prefer that we kept COVID out of Pittsburgh County. I know it's here, but I would prefer that people be concerned enough and care enough to be able to at least wear a mask and keep the germ level down. Because as you can look all around us, look at the states that are popping hot. Before long, we're going to be one of those states.
No, come on, no,
You think
no.
not?
Hey,
I pray
hey,
not.
We let everybody
not.
wait. Don't make me use. We let everybody speak. We don't interrupt. Go ahead.
I'm done because that's the only thing that I wanted to say, and I can see the concern. So, I'll have to deal with that on another level.
Thank
you.
Okay. Is there one last time? And this time is actually the last time. Anybody else? And seeing no one, I take a motion in a second to close the public hearing. Motion, Councilman Smith, second, Councilman Brown. Any discussion?
Thank you for your time.
I'm not done yet. Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Boatright,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. So now we shall move to scheduled business, and that is discussion and possible action authorizing the mayor to sign an ordinance amending Chapter 54, Health and Public Welfare of the McAllister City Code to create Article 4 COVID-19 pandemic face coverings, mandating the use of face coverings in public areas and declaring an emergency. Now the floor is open to anyone on the council that would like to speak. Seeing no one, then I will.
Okay, I'll speak if nobody else is. I love political discourse. What I've picked up in the last few minutes is kind of a hyperbolic statement. If we don't do this mask thing, it's going to be the end of McAllister. fire won't work, police won't work, it'll all go to hell. I've known the mayor for a long time, and I think he's a man of integrity, and I think this is a well-meaning effort, but I think it's very flawed. I've, like most of you, I've done some research and tried to keep up with this thing from the very beginning. There are a lot of different opinions, and I could talk about this for an hour, but I'm not going to. To me, the basic point here is that if you feel threatened by this thing, you can wear your mask. If masks are efficient at stopping this, you got it made. Just wear your mask. Anybody that doesn't want a mask, do social distancing, stay in your home if you want to, wash your hands a lot, do all of those things. But if you're afraid of this virus, and I would be afraid, like, I've got a friend that died about 10 days of this thing. He rode in a car for 2 days with 2 people that had serious cold symptoms. Turns out they had the virus. He's a 75-year-old guy with a lot of health issues. He lasted about 2 weeks up in Baptist Hospital in Oklahoma City on a ventilator. He should have had, first of all, you probably shouldn't be in a car for 2 days with people that are sneezing and coughing and acting sick. But if I was in that situation, I sure as shooting would have my mask on and be doing some other things if I could. So to me, the whole point comes down to the fact that if you're threatened by this illness, which a lot of us are, and you're in a situation where you're closed in with people for an extended period of time, like 15 minutes or more, wear the mask and do everything else you can. And that's my 2 cents. I would be voting no on this.
Anyone else?
Mayor.
Councilman Brown?
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna take this off. First of all, I want to commend you for at least trying to do what's right and what you feel is right. Now, I've been listening to everything, and I can tell you, of course, it's not Dallas. Before somebody says it's not Dallas, that you have to have a mask down there. You can't get in. Doesn't matter where you are. I even went to a soul food place, and I had to have the mask. But I know it doesn't have anything to do with it. But I'm kind of like, we got a twofold deal here because we got schools going to be starting here pretty quick. We got kids. They're going to have to wear a mask. I'm sure if you have kids in school, you know this, right, parents? Homeschool? Homeschool? Okay, but if they go to public schools, they're going to have to wear masks. But I'm not going to go into a whole lot of that. And I see another point where you're grown people and you don't want anybody telling you what to do. That's what I'm hearing as well. So it's kind of like what Councilman Smith said. And, I'm trying to balance this thing out. The mayor's doing a good job, I think, and I always say that because he does. He's fair. And that's saying something because I've been up here where things haven't been fair. So I can say that. I don't know if we should try to lock people in where, like they do in Dallas, and this is not Dallas, I'll say it again. I just leave it up to your discretion. You go to a restaurant, you go to Walmart. I don't know if any restaurants are doing this or not, but I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how we could kind of get through this and make it balance it off. And at this point, I'm not sure.
Councilman Boatright?
I feel like that the majority of the people have got good common sense in knowing where to wear this mask and where not to. I don't want to put a mask on, get in my car, and have to drive like they're doing in Tulsa, so to speak. We're not Tulsa. We don't have 1,000 cases or 500 cases a day. Most people are using their head and using these masks. And I don't know that we would need to force them to wear these masks. And that's just the way I feel. That's me.
Thank you.
All right, anyone on the,
This is Councilman Pritchard.
go ahead.
Is there a motion on the floor?
There
is
is
there a
not.
motion on the floor?
There is not. It's debate right now.
Okay.
But it is open if you have any comments or questions that you would like to make. We've had everybody up here, so anyone on the phone that's wanting to say anything, now's the time. I don't hear anyone, so I'm going one more time.
Mayor, this is Councilman.
Say that again. You cut out.
Mayor, this is Councilman Cox. I've got one question about the ordinance.
Okay, go ahead.
It's based on the age of the child. Basically, item number 2. Tulsa came out with their ordinance, and it was basically anybody under 18 was exempt. Oklahoma City chose 11. Ada chose 16. How did we come up with 5?
That would go to the city attorney.
Councilman Cox, the CDC, sorry, this is Joe Irvin. The CDC recognizes that children under the age of 2 should not wear a mask. The guidance from the federal government, from the CDC, is that children under a certain age should be guided by the best judgment of their parents. A lot of our breathing difficulty is resolved by the time people reach the age of 5, and so we chose 5 because children under 2 should not wear a mask, and children over the age of below the age of 18 makes no sense from a medical standpoint. Everyone can spread the disease, and so children under 5 and children with sensory processing disorders, autism, special needs, have difficulty wearing a mask for extended periods of time, and so it was for it's just a practical matter. Whether you pick 5, whether you pick 10, those are usually dictated by the parent anyway. But why wouldn't we just allow it to be the parent's choice instead of us mandating an age for minors? Well, I mean, obviously, minors over a certain age, they breathe and they do everything just like adults, and so it really has to do with whether it's going to impact the ability to breathe and function of the child. You can leave it, you can make it 18 and say below 18, it's the discretion of the parents. That's up to you. But the idea is to arrest the spread of the virus, and there's nothing that a 19-year-old can't spread that a 13-year-old can't spread. And so, as a practical matter, we didn't want to impact people who were unable to wear a mask. That's why you have the ADA exceptions and the special needs exceptions. But the council can set the age at any age they want. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on the line? Well, I'm going to try to answer a few.
Mayor, this is.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm good. I'll listen.
All right. I'm going to try just to kind of answer a couple of the things that did come up during the talk. People were stressing about keeping businesses open, and that is the idea behind this. One of the ideas behind requiring the masks, because if we can keep the numbers down, which the masks have been shown to do, then that decreases the chance that we would have to close down again in the future, like has happened in the past. If you look at some of the other states that are having huge upswings in it, even Texas is talking about having to roll back and close things back down again. In fact, the governor of Texas made the statement that if there is not universal mask usage, they are probably going to have to shut back down. You know, so there's more than just us trying to impose will on someone that doesn't want will imposed on them. There are valid reasons behind doing this, okay? And that would be one of them. The rights question, you know, I've got as much problem with authority as anybody. I mean, that was a big issue I had all through my life, but this is not a case of that. This is not doing anything more than what has been done with smokers, okay? And they actually parallel very well, because you are only allowed to smoke in places where you can't affect other people with your smoke, okay? Wearing a mask, that is the idea behind it, is you are wearing the mask to not affect other people with your exhalations. So there is precedent for it. There's reason behind it. There's a ton of science on it already. I mean, I can, you know, you and I can go back and forth on who said what and who said what. Every single one of mine is the smartest people in the country on these issues. So, I mean, and no, it's not me saying it. It's them saying it. It's the CDC. It's the AMA. It's the National Institute of Health. Yeah. Okay, but well, we will just have to agree to disagree on that. But these are also the people that the coronavirus task force relies on. Come on, let you speak.
Sorry.
Okay. Every single local health entity is 100% behind this. The fire department is behind this. The medical field here and nationally are all say this is what needs to be done. The one no, you know, don't. I was nice to you guys. Okay. I just wanted this one statistic, and this is from the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, suggests that 33,000 deaths can be avoided by October 1st if 95% of people wore masks in public. That wearing a mask in public with the possibility of being able to save 33,000 people, or even one person, is not a huge imposition to me. Yeah, so clearly, I mean, I'm 100% for this. So.
Mike Nolan, 10 Thane Road, McAllister, Oklahoma. How many hundreds of thousand people died? And I'm for all life matters. Every life is important. There's not one that's not. How many people died from protests around this world not wearing a mask? They did not shut their states down. New York City had 1,000 a day reporting deaths. They had protesters of 100,000s on the street doing all kinds of crazy stuff with no mask on. They said their cases are lower than they've ever been, what Governor says right now. He said their cases are lower now after protests. Seattle had a chop shop for a month, 6 city blocks, mouth to mouth, nose to nose, no respirator, no face mask, no nothing. They said they ain't got no new cases now. That should be an option out there for somebody to throw out there. We're spreading like this right here, but how come the protesters did not spread it? I'm just asking the question. Yeah. I don't understand that myself.
Yeah. I don't know, and I don't know if the study's been done. So.
Okay.
And I would point out that there's studies
Mayor,
that...
Councilman Pritchard, can I ask you a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I think I saw you say something on Facebook or maybe in the newspaper about like the fine portion of this ordinance.
Yes, yeah, I was actually.
I don't want to mischaracterize you, but
Yeah. If we go much farther, I'm going to move that be removed.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said if we go much farther on this, I intend to ask that section 54-59 on penalties be removed.
Okay. I've got something to say just in general. This situation, this coronavirus situation,
reminds me a lot of like a weather warning, like a tornado warning. I think that's something we're all pretty familiar with. So, oftentimes when there's a tornado warning, a certain number of people, a certain percentage of people will take shelter. They'll go to their basement, or a safe room in their house, whatever they have. But then another group of people will go outside and watch the tornado, or look for the tornado, or potentially even get in their car and drive around and try to get it, or try to find the tornado. And that's where we're at with this mask thing, with the coronavirus really in general. Is some people are taking it more serious. Some people are the people that are in their basements, that are looking for shelter. Other people are maybe not being as careful going outside to look for the tornado. But the deal here, and this is why a mask ordinance or just increasing mask usage another way is important, is because the people that don't wear the mask, the people that don't maybe take it as serious, the people that go to look for the tornado, in this case, they actually make this storm stronger. So for everyone else that's trying to take shelter, for the frontline workers, for the emergency responders, for the compromised people, they are actually having to deal with this increased storm, this increased spread of COVID-19, because other people are choosing not to do that. That's why it's important for this city, for this community, to increase mask wearing. I'm not sure that the ordinance is the best way to do that. Maybe it is, but we need to be doing something, and probably multiple things, to get as many people as possible to wear a mask.
Thank you. One last time to anybody on the line. Anything? Any statements, questions?
Mayor, this is. Go ahead. I'll keep yielding my floor. Go for it.
This is Councilman Cox, and I just want to piggyback off of what Councilman Pritchard said. I'm not sure, I think there are other avenues. I think we need to increase education, we continue to increase awareness. I'm not sure a mandated ordinance is the way to do it. We're not, CDC has said hand washing and social distancing are the two most effective ways to combat this. Are we going to mandate people wash their hands? Are we going to mandate the social distancing? I think it's about education and basically educating the masses on the benefits of a mask, the benefits of hand washing, the benefits of social distancing. I'm not sure penalizing people is the way to get there.
All right, Vice Mayor Stevens, you're up.
Yes. Couple of comments about the ordinance, and then I'll just share a couple of my thoughts, I guess. If and when at some point we discuss this and decide what we would do, just a couple of things I'd like to iterate the penalty part, taking a look at that on penalizing people. And I'd also like to look at the sunset date, that maybe we can tie that into somehow looking at cases and trends upward or trends downward, or a couple of things, and then providing some more clarity and education maybe to the public on what a mask ordinance would actually look like if this were to ever go forward or not. And then just on a side note for looking at just kind of what we've all gone through, because unfortunately this virus isn't harming or affecting just one segment, as Councilman Pritchard said, kind of an analogy to he gave. I think the thing that concerns me beyond lives, beyond health, because that is the most important part, is how can we reduce the transmission, protect our families, our neighbors, our friends, by being conscious of others. And as a Christian, I think that's very important, to worry about your neighbor and worry about your community and your home. That's of utmost importance, and you should. But I think the reality of the situation that we should consider in our community is what we've heard from all the health experts, what we've heard from Chief Brewer, what the kind of position that's going to put our first responders in with police and fire, and what kind of position that puts them in. If we can protect them, they do their best to protect us. These are simple things to ask of people. Maybe a mandate's not the right way to do it. Maybe it's exactly like what's being said with education and steering that direction and trying to encourage people to do this, because I think it's very profitable for us as a community to do this, to help protect each other and to add that extra layer of maybe reducing transmission so we can keep a low case count in our community, in our county. Because if the health concern, and this is something that doesn't worry you or doesn't scare you, then I'm very concerned for the small businesses in our community, that if we have to go through another shutdown statewide or countywide or citywide or whatever it is, what does that do to these people that this is how they live here? This is how they depend on us. And if we can't shop with them, we can't support them, we can't be there, then they won't be here anymore. And these are all things that we need to consider with this. So if this council decides not to go forward with this ordinance, then okay. But if this council decides that they do want to go forward with this ordinance or other ways or encouraging this in different ways, I would encourage us as a group and as a community to figure out this way that we can actually help each other. Because it's not going to matter what we really think about masks or not masks if the numbers continue to go up dramatically. It's how do we deal with it. If masks are a small way to deal with it, then we should really consider encouraging people to do this and doing everything in our power as a council to help people get masks or help them have protective equipment or help them get hand sanitizers in businesses or help them educate in whatever way possible. Because if we keep the case count down, it's only going to be better for all of us. So I would just encourage everybody in the audience listening, please consider wearing a mask. Please consider please consider your family and friends, because this is more than just a political segment here. This is actually something that is making a difference, and it can make a difference, and that science continues to point to that way. And that's what we need to consider here as each other.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Are there any motions from the council?
Make a motion to approve this.
Is there a second? Okay. Is there any further discussion?
What are we approving?
The ordinance. Correct? Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, there was one motion.
The Councilman Smith made a motion to approve the ordinance, and Councilman Boatright second.
With just the ordinance as is, with no changes?
Yes. Okay, is there any further discussion? Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
No.
Boatright,
No.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Cox,
No.
Brown,
I'm gonna say yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. There is an emergency involved. Is there a motion and a second on the emergency? I'll make the motion on the emergency. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Yes, I second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Corey?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to say something.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the city attorney, but if we don't pass the emergency clause, this won't be effective for 30 days. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay. With that being said, I know we just passed this by a 4-3 vote. I believe we need 5 votes to pass this, to pass the emergency clause. If it doesn't get it, then we're 30 days from this becoming effective. I guess I'm talking to the 3 members of the council that voted no, but I'm hoping that one of you will vote yes on this, at least one of you vote yes on this emergency clause. Because the difference in 30 days is a lot. We could potentially prevent a lot of illness and save a significant number of lives within 30 days. So I hope that one of you will vote yes.
Any further discussion? Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Pritchard,
Yes.
Smith,
No.
Stevens,
Yes.
Cox,
Based on the citizens of Ward 3 and their response, it's no.
Brown,
Yes.
Boatright,
No.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion fails. Mr. Urban, I have a question for you. Is it proper for me to make a motion to amend the ordinance to remove the section 54-59, the penalty?
The ordinance has been enacted. You can still make a motion to amend the ordinance that has been approved, but it would require consent from the person who made the motion and the second to approve.
Okay. Mr. Smith, you would not accept that?
No.
Okay. All right.
I'm hoping we have redo the whole thing in 30 days.
Okay. Are there, is there any other business before the council?
I have a question. Is there any way that we can bring this up again to be discussed for amendments here sooner than later before it takes effect?
Sure. Councilman Stevens, this is Joe Irvin. Like any ordinance of the city, it can be amended, rescinded, altered any way you want, and so you can bring it up at the next meeting. I would remind you that there's a provision in the charter that if we're going to consider an ordinance, that it requires one public hearing, which has been conducted tonight, and it would require it be posted a week in advance. Thank you.
Any other business before the council? I'd take a motion and second to adjourn. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Boatright. Any discussion? Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Boatright,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Cox,
Yeah.
Brown,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and we're adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.